So, how do you do, Lawrence? How are you this evening?
Well, and I was tired because I had a nap because it goes on quite late. So I had an nap for an hour, and I could have had 2 hours because um, it was 10 o'clock last week, and it's back to 11 o'clock this week. But I've had about 14 cups of coffee and 16 fags, and
Well,
woke
we're already promised we weren't going to, talk forever tonight anyway. So I apologize that the United States of America decided to turn all the clocks ahead an hour or back an hour or whatever the hell. So,
well, it's like when
so
they.
it's 6 o'clock here and it's 11 p.m. there, and but here we are. So
It's to sidetrack you because unless you're like me, maybe you do the same. You know, uh, if you've got about 10 clocks in the house and you've got to change them an hour forward and change them an hour back, I don't bother. So if I'm driving the car, it's only right for 6 months of the year. The other 6 months, I just add an hour or take an hour off, I think.
right.
Okay,
Well,
I'm not messing
join the
around.
club. Join the club because that's what I do also. It's the same thing. I just let it go. I don't pay any attention. Pretty much just use the clock on the phone because it's always right.
Yeah.
So even my computer's off right now. So welcome back. We had several weeks for a break, and I needed it. You needed it. I was happy to have it. You went on vacation a couple places. I worked my butt off instead and got caught up on some work. And but we're back, and we're gonna carry on in about the same vein, but add some new things all the time, and see where it continues to go. I mean, we haven't changed positions on anything so far, so.
Yeah.
So I
No.
think we've decided we're going to talk about Antarctica and some of the mythology associated with it.
Yeah. So, it's obvious we're heading towards the the height of the summer in Antarctica. So, around about Christmas time, it will be 24 hours of daylight for a month or so, and which is quite interesting because the webcams are supporting that as well. So at the moment, I've been watching, every week all year round, and the days are getting longer and the nights are getting shorter. In fact, there's no nights at all at the moment. If you look at the webcams, officially there's like 20 hours of the sun above the horizon, but the twilight is quite strong, and it's basically light all the time there now. Let's just do a little screen share and we'll test our skills of observation. You can actually see there's 24 hours of sun at the moment. So let's start off with Casey. This is the latest recording for Casey. I'll chat about that. There we go. Casey station. There we go. Let's bring that up. Okay. Bring that up there. Is it coming up? Let's put it on full screen. So it's starting off here. You still with me, Laurie?
Yeah, I'm here.
Still around. Okay, so this is night there now, but as you can see, it's still twilight, isn't it? There's just a few lights on outside, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning and it's not dark. In fact, there's this brightness in the sky. So let's just move it along a little bit. So we'll stop it when we first see any sign of the sun, because I think from this alone you can see there's 24 hours of sun. Obviously, from the point of view of where the camera is, you can't see the sun behind the camera because it's not one that's in a big circle every day. So let's just move it along. So 3 o'clock, 4:20. The lights are still on. 5:30. The lights have gone off now, so it's officially like dawn there now. Sunrise, but the sun's that low on the horizon, it's not shining down on anything. Let's move it on a bit more. Oh yes, so you see the side of the building to the left, Laurie? Did you see it light up?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So if you look at this screen here, this is the east, this is the west, and to the back of the building, going at 45 degrees. That is the south, and this is the north. So the sun is going to be highest in the sky when it's in the north, because they're in the south looking north. So we've got the sun rising here on the east, and it's shining on that side of the building. I don't think anybody could argue with that, could they?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so let's move it on a little bit.
Especially that flash.
There we go. Just showing you that, you know, people are rolling up to work now. You know, there's people outside the building. We'll probably start getting some vehicles moving soon. 6:55, 7:30. Somebody right on the left, right-hand corner. Oh, people and buildings again. Somebody's moved one of those big green trucks outside the doors. That's it. Just 8:10. 9 o'clock. These vehicles do come and go very quickly. 9:30. More people. So this is the working day there. This is local time, so they've got local time to effect, you know, time with how it is in most places. This isn't UTC time; it's local time. So you've got people walking. So you can't see any shadows at the moment because the sun isn't shining on them. But let's wait until we see some shadows on the people, if we can. I'll just stop it now and again. Another little dinky little truck parked outside there. People, another truck's going. 2:25 p.m. So I think the sun is at its highest at about 4 o'clock-ish, something like that. There we are. Right. Oops.
I don't see any shadows, probably because of the forecast.
Hang on. 4:05. Let me just take that back a bit. 3:50. 4. It's not there. Okay, let's move it on a bit. Might be on the next day. 6:45. You know, I think we need the next day. Oh, 8:20. Right, if you look at 8:20, you see that red truck over on the side. Can you see the shadow coming that way from it across the screen? Yes. Okay, but that's the sun is over on the opposite side now, so it's gone from shining from the east to it's shining from the west now. And you can see the shadow moving slightly round from left to right on that red truck as the sun moves around. As you see, it's getting brighter in the top left-hand corner because the sun's over there now. And then we'll get the crazy sun coming in a minute. Oh, there we go. Now look at that. That just comes out of nowhere. This is freaky, isn't it? You know, do you remember when I was showing it a few weeks back and that black dot was appearing right from the right-hand side of the screen? Now it's coming up here, you know, coming from the south. So that just came up. Let's just go back a couple of frames. 12:30 that was, wasn't it? Okay. 9, 10. So all is quiet on the Western Front. 11:20, 11:30, 11:45, 11:55. No sign of the sun, is there? It's just going to come out of nowhere with a big black dot. 11:55, 12:05. Oh, look. That looks like a hat. Isn't it funny? It's just come out of nowhere, this big sun, and then it just vanishes and it'll go down at 45 degrees now to the left. And vanishing, you know, half an hour. Pops up and just goes like that. So that's effectively the sunset. So the sun has gone from shining from the east, and it's gone down from the south back towards the east. So that's done a full 360, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's shone, that building will have been shone on every side because it's on the other side, and it's already gone all the way around. Let's just check the next day for. I mean, the lights run again for 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the night. Oh, somebody got up early then, 4:30. It's like one of those L.S. Lowry paintings. You probably don't know Lowry, do you? Famous British, he was a surrealist artist. He painted matchstick men and matchstick cats and dogs. Come on. There we are. 120, 150, 2. Trying to get one at 405.
They never got nighttime.
Hang on. Yeah. So it's not going dark there at all now, and that's what happens every year. Hang on, I'm gonna get 405.
So, Lawrence, what do you think about people saying this is fake? Oh.
Well, you'd have to get all these actors coming out every day, wouldn't you? And big movie vehicles just to fake it. I mean, it's preposterous. You know, how could you fake all this? If you were going to fake it, why on earth would you put a bloody big black dot in front of the sun? You'd just put a normal sun, wouldn't you? Oh, I can't get it.
So the only time we see the black dot is when the sun is actually shining on the camera.
You know, well, we can't see it on the other side. They may well, if you could get a full pan on it, you might be seeing the black dot on the other side. But obviously, the sun that you're seeing over that way, that isn't the real sun. Yeah, because the sun is coming from the north. So when you see the black dot, you're seeing the reflection off this invisible boundary that's there. That's why it's a black dot. So I think the black dot is a reflection, and it's showing the reverse of the sun. And just find some more shadows. So this is what I was going to ask John to do.
You don't think that the black dot is manipulated?
No, it's the reverse of the sun. That's how I see it. You know. Because the sun isn't shining in the real world. The sun is not shining to the south of the South Pole, is it? But when that sun's going down there, that's going down from the south back towards the east. There you go. You can see that guy there at the bottom. His shadow's going that way, so the sun's back over in the right-hand corner now. You can see it lighting up the snow periodically. There we go. It's coming round now, so it'll be coming from right to left, so the right-hand side. Here we go. Oof, it must have been hiding behind the clouds. So the black dot's come back again. So the idea with this anyway, Laurie, is I'm going to speak to John, and when we've got, let me come out of that for a minute. When it's getting a bit closer to Christmas, then it will be at its brightest. So what I was looking for John to do was accentuate all the shadows using some software that he could probably dig out, and then string together all the shadows so you can see them actually spiraling round. They'll be going anti-clockwise. And it's pretty much the same. It's quite, let's just go and have a look at the other one, Davis Station, because it's a lot brighter there. Let's have a quick look at that one, and then we'll move on to something else. Share. Davis. So this is Davis Station. This is this web eye from a dome, and this is showing the sun going around in a circle now. So you can see the sun most of the day on here. Go get it started. Where's my key?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you can watch this every day. So you can see it's got the directions. It's got the east to where the west normally is. So maybe that's because they're down there. I think if that was the case, they've got the north in the wrong place, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the north. They've got the north at the top, and the north should be at the south at the bottom on that. If you got east on where the west is, then the north has to go where the south is. So this is showing the sun going round, you know, in the sky for the whole day, because you've got the time counter on the right.
Well, it's interesting that it's, sorry, feedback. Isn't that interesting that it does?
So there you've got
in the north.
You've got the sun is virtually up for most of the day. It just slips below for for about 4 hours in the middle of the night, from about 1 o'clock till about 5 o'clock. But going, I think it's obviously one of those GoPro type cameras there, because it's got everything going in a big circle, isn't it?
Definitely
But when you look back at that black dot sun that's coming out now, it's just coming in and going out at a crazy angle, isn't it? And it's not, and it's only there for a short space of time, because I think that's because it's in the, they're in the corner of the diamond. All right, so this is we'll have a quick look at this Davis Station. A lot brighter sunshine here, and you can look at some of these poles which are creating a shadow. And let me just make it full screen. Full screen. So if you look at the roof, if you look at the chimney on the roof, you'll be able to see the shadows moving around that, and there's some flagpoles here going round, and obviously you can see the building when it's shining on the side of it. You can see that the sun is actually moving around. So let's just click this one in. Just watch it. No black dots here though. People coming and going, and plenty of shadows, so you can see the way the people are, and you're getting shadows pointing in different directions as the day progresses. There's some kind of sunshine there for the most of the day. The sun's gone at the back. Well, that's quite freaky how that happens, isn't it? It must be shining through some buildings at the back. But you can pick out shadows all over that, and show that the sun the sun is above the horizon or nearest damn it for the whole day.
Well, Lawrence, what reason would they have to lie?
They've got no reason to lie. Why? The other flat earthers say, oh, it's to cover up that the earth is flat. So, they've got all these webcams going just to cover up the earth is flat. Well, to fake it, I mean, it's preposterous. It's crazy. They could just not bother having webcams, couldn't they? It'd be a budget that would be on NASA. It'd be several NASAs to fake all that, wouldn't it? All they got to do is fake the frigging ISS. They'd have to fake God knows how many research stations, and the web cameras employ actors and cars and movies and simulate the sun and the shadows and everything. It'd be just a complete nightmare to fake all that. Anyway, let's come out of that.
Well,
so
yeah, I'm gonna have to mute you for a second because we're feeding back. I just can't wear those headsets tonight because, well, maybe it's not doing it so bad now. The black dot. Okay, so the black dot is at some of the stations or one of the stations, but not all of them. And people say, well, the black dot has to be because the camera.
That's the only station. I think what we could confirm. Go on. I think what we could confirm is if we get the position of the webcams at the other stations, they will be pointing north rather than south. That one's pointing south. And obviously, when you're looking at the sun to the south, it isn't the sun. The sun doesn't go below the Tropic of Capricorn. So the sun you're seeing has to be a refraction or a reflection of the sun. And it's whatever's coming back. So if the sun has got a reverse side that is black, it may be, well, the black is reflecting off the hidden barrier, within the realm, and you're actually seeing that reflecting back through the sun. That's what I think it is.
Okay, so we've discussed that we've seen the black dot in Antarctica facing south, and we have been told, or somebody said, that there has been a black dot seen from Mexico, from some film locations in Mexico. Not really sure. I haven't seen that for myself. So, but it's interesting that you could shoot the sun straight overhead, looking straight up, and no camera, normal cameras don't have any black dot. It just whites out the camera. It doesn't affect the camera or the lens or anything. It doesn't like burn it up or do anything terrible to the camera. So why don't we see black dots from film of people shooting the sky with the sun over. It's more intense there than it would be in Antarctica facing south. So there's something odd about that.
Yeah, well, that's the most logical conclusion. We know the sun isn't to the south of the South Pole, so what you're seeing is, you know, what's coming back from the hidden barrier of the realm. And I think when they talk about the black sun, it's probably the reverse side of the sun. You look at a mirror, you know, the reverse of a mirror is usually dark or black, isn't it? You know, the sun isn't going to. So I don't think the sun is a 3D object of sorts. It's, you know, maybe it is some kind of, you know, mirror type thing, and the back of it is black, and you only get to see that when it's visible from places where it isn't, you know, bouncing off the back of something. And if you look at the angle that that sun came in at, you know, it came out of nowhere and vanished off the screen in half an hour, going down at 45 degrees. So that tells me that that's the sun hitting the, you know, the apex of the diamond, where it's a very tight corner, and that's all you're seeing. Makes loads of sense.
Yeah.
You know, and how people
Hey,
can
John,
say.
just
Go
a
on.
minute, I have to mute you. Don't you have some evidence from diaries? I mean, it's interesting that we always hear talk of, I have you muted, so I'm not feeding back, so you'll have to wait just a second. Isn't it interesting that we hear the use of these diaries from Captain Cook, and Captain Cook specifically, but also Captain Scott, of Antarctica, you know, journeys and expeditions, and everyone's willing to use these said diaries for the purpose of explaining these long, extravagant trips around the ice wall. But when you bring this same diary forward to admit into evidence that they talk about 24-hour days in December, in those said same diaries, all of a sudden nobody wants to think that they're legitimate. So
Yeah, they just want to cherry pick what suits them, don't they? So anyway, let's play this little clip, because I found this when I was looking through hundreds of Antarctica videos, and it was quite interesting. Let's just play this little YouTube clip. It's only a couple of minutes or so. There we go. Make it bigger. Let's just run this. Can you hear that, Laurie?
no.
Shall I turn the sound up?
I'm gonna try. Nope, no sound. I mean, it's a little garbled.
Oh, I'll read it then. There we
Okay,
go.
that's probably just as good. Before you
Can
do
you hear
that,
it
let me
from me?
welcome John. Hi, John.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, John.
Okay,
Sorry
go
for
ahead,
the
Lauren.
delays.
I'm muting, so you can go.
All right, so I'm just going to read what this guy's put up. So, and then I'll move on to the next page. So I'll be as brief and concise as I can. Okay, so I'll try and read this. It says, on the 24th, the wind abated, veering to the northwest, and the sky cleared up in the latitude of 67 degrees, longitude 13. Can't read what that says, something 15. As we advanced to the northeast with a gentle gale at northwest, the ice islands increased so fast upon us that this day at noon we could see nearly 100 rounders, besides an immense number of small pieces. Perceiving that it was likely to be calm, I got the ship, as can't read what that word says, as clear as berth as I could, where she drifted along with the ice, and by taking advantage of every light air of wind, was kept from falling aboard any of these floating isles. Here it was we spent Christmas Day, much in the same manner as we did in the preceding one. We were fortunate in having continual daylight, clear weather. So, you know, he's telling us that there's continual daylight, which means the daylight goes on, you know, there's no gap, there's no night.
Lawrence, the audio is not coming through.
Okay, so that
Anyway,
was
the diary.
that was Captain. Yeah, that's Captain Cook's diary. You can download these online from Google Books and from other sources. And if you go to the British Library, you can get the journal and see the journal for Robert Falcon Scott. You know, from his time in 1911 or whenever it was when he did the expedition to the South Pole. And he talks about the midnight sun reflecting off the snow. So I'll just bring that site up so you can see it. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Robert.
That's the Telegraph site.
Now I'm just showing you where people can get the book. I've listened to the whole audio book, but I've got a little cookie or a bug on my computer, which is hang on, British Library, which is stopping me from reading it at the moment. But I can show people where it is. British Library, Robert Falcon. So I've got Midnight Sun. Robert Falcon Scott journal, diary. That'll do. Here we go. So this is Captain Scott's diary. And it's converted to an audio as well. So this is his book. It's obviously in his handwriting, so it's difficult to read, but somebody's actually turned it into an ebook. And where are we? So if you want to see more of it,
Okay, is it me or did Lawrence just?
I'm still here.
I can't hear. I can't hear him.
Yeah, no, it just went dead, just silent.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Lawrence, you went dead.
oh, here we go. I'm still here.
All right.
When I go to this British Library, I get this thing which says "fail to get object configuration." So I presume that's a fault with my computer. But
well, whatever it did, it just slowed you down completely to where we almost lost you. So you might want to get out of that to get your.
Let's take that off. Anyway, so there's an extract from the Daily Telegraph on Scott. Diary from Captain Scott's Polar Editions reveals high spirits of explorers. And there's an extra. He says, and the midnight sun reflected from the snow has started to burn my face and lips. So you can read the diary for yourself. You can listen to it, and Scott talks about the midnight sun. If you've got a midnight sun, then you've got 24 hours of daylight. It's going to be, sunny at midnight. Then it's not going to get dark before, any later than that. So that covers those two things. We've just seen visually that it's daylight there now in November, and especially at Davis Station, the sun was shining all day. You've got 24 hours, the sun's shining. You've got shadows going in every which direction. And I was just saying to Laurie John that if you could take some screenshots and enhance the shadows and then put a series of them together, they'll be going, Casey anyway, they'll be going in an anti-clockwise fashion, and then people will be able to see, like on a clock, the sun is completing a full circle around that base.
Yeah, I agree. There's something about the light rays coming in from different angles. I think that's like making the shadows go witchy way. Strange though that there's the footage I've seen. Sorry, I'm joining you late. I don't know. I'm not sure what you showed prior to me joining, but the stuff I've seen of Casey Station is that the shadows go long way, and then all of a sudden they just sort of switch, and depending on cloud cover, they just sort of seem like they disappear, and then you're like waiting a little bit, and then they sort of like come in from another direction. Sometimes, you know, I know there's old footage that I've seen, so it could be like at a different time of year. What I'm considering is that depending on, you know, seasonally, what time of year it is, where the sun is over the tropics, I think there might be a longer or shorter delay between when the shadows switch over from one angle to another. Let's say, since Casey's near the IDL, International Dateline, for you kids out there, that it's possible, I'm theorizing that the rays are coming in from one angle to another. Now, that's not the same thing as being on a ball. If you're on a ball, you sort of wouldn't see any witchy way of the shadows. It would just sort of be like, I would imagine, like a blob shadow over a certain, you know, radial area, like a crescent shape, and then, you know, as it, you know, it doesn't make sense the way the shadows are. They're very long, and then they're very short, and they switch angles. So I don't know. That's where what I've come to think so far. Your thoughts?
Yeah, John. Well, what I was saying before to Laurie, I don't know whether Laurie concurs with me on this, because it's obviously speculation, but the most sensible conclusion I can get, at the Casey station, the webcam is pointing to the south. So when the sun actually goes down, it goes down for about 4 hours, between about 1 and 5 o'clock. That's when you see the black dot. But obviously, we know the sun is not to the south of the South Pole. It's not going further south than the Tropic of Capricorn. So what we're seeing is not the sun, but the refraction of the sun as it reverberates around the apex of the diamond-shaped realm that we're in. And like anything, if there's light, there has to be dark. So presumably the reverse side of the sun is black, and it's the blackness of the reverse side of the sun that is reflecting back, and people can actually see it. And that's why they had to come up with the excuse of the camera protecting itself from the strong light.
Lawrence, I love that theory.
Lawrence,
I love that theory. That is great. The back of the sun. That is beautiful. That's perfectly said. Easy to understand. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because we have to mention the black dot. We can't not mention the black dot. It's something that does not happen in normal photography. So I like your theory, guys, about how, yeah, that black dot is being placed there for Sirius.
Well, think about it this way also. You should never, I mean, this doesn't make any sense that you would ever see the sun come south of the camera if the camera's pointing south, because we're already south of the Tropic of Capricorn, and the sun's never supposed to be south of that. So we should never see the sun in the camera ever at all. So we do.
And the other thing is, if it was so bright, if the sun was so bright down in Antarctica that it was causing a black dot on video devices, whoa, then why isn't it doing that over the equator, where it's like directly overhead and more radiant? So that's
Lawrence. I'm gonna have to ask you, because it's your
go in and out.
That's feeding both of us back. So no, what I was just going to ask you is if, when you're not talking, you could mute, but instead he drops out. He'll be back, and then I'll tell him. So I'm trying, John. I had a headache this evening, and I just couldn't put those head pressing headphones on. So I'm not doing microphones. I'm not doing headphones, and so it's probably going to be a crappy recording, but so be it. It's that or die with that wedge on my head.
Well, you know, I'm at bare bones myself. You know, I'm here, you know, off the phone, you know, on the edge of the laptop. So it's a new experience for me too. Just switching it up.
We're talking low tech tonight. Okay, it's like the old. So anyway, I'm rather mystified when I see these films from, especially the one. I mean, I'm okay with the one from Davis pointing north. Of course, they're going to see the sun, but the one Okay, Lawrence, what I was going to ask you, please, is when you are not actively talking, if you would hit your mute button, please.
Yeah, okay, we'll do.
It's you that's feeding us back,
Right, okay.
like now, like hit it now.
I'm feeding back, am I? It doesn't
No,
sound too clear.
No, Lawrence, we are feeding back through you.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So,
Okay, so go on.
Carry on.
All right, so let me just do another little screen share. So this is so you can see for yourself that the camera is pointing to the south.
See what I did there,
Because
John?
if you look at
Yes, I
if you
did.
look at this is Google Maps. Okay, so north is pointing upwards on here, but this Google Maps is taken from the other side of the building to what the camera is, and you can see that the other side of the building there, that's where all the tire tracks are and where all the vehicles park up that you see coming and going. So when we're looking at it, the camera's over here somewhere, looking down that way to the south. So,
There's a totem pole. There's a totem, right? I would say maybe it's on the totem pole.
yeah. So that's you can actually scan around here and have a look, but after a while, I think it just goes into some kind of CGI. It doesn't look real. They'll only let you see that's not real there. I don't think that's just Google simulations. So the bit that is real is obviously just the bit that's showing the location. It's like a photograph of that particular area. It's come out of that.
Yeah, there's I was thinking about the other bases that are there in Antarctica. God, there's a lot of reverb. is there somebody using a whammy bar?
Lawrence. all I can say is, Lawrence, when you're going to talk, press the mute button off. Otherwise, keep it off. Keep it on. I mean, keep the muted button on all the time. Sorry.
I don't know if anyone can bring up a screenshot of Antarctica with the base stations there. I was looking at it. Casey and Davis are sort of towards the international date line below Australia. And I noticed there's only a sprinkling of bases towards the inner circle. They're all on the edge of Antarctica, whatever you call Antarctica. And then you have, I believe, Vostok and another base. It might be Chilean or Italian, I'm not sure. And I forget the name of it. And they're sort of like in the inner circle. Then you have Scott Amundsen right in the center. And so I'm just curious, I haven't had any time to like search footage of those stations, if there is any. I would think that maybe there might be something interesting from the Russians. They're pretty interesting with their video footage. They like to capture a lot of stuff. They all have like cameras on in their cars and everything. Something to search for in the future as we're getting deeper into Antarctica. The shadows, Lawrence. Yes, as you said, it would be real easy for me to, hang on, let me put the camera back on. Okay. Yeah, it'd be real simple. We could do just a stitch up of the angles of the shadows with arrows, as I think were saying the last time, so we can like basically chart, that shadow's going north, that's going, northish, north, now it's west, now it's, the point of perspective of the camera. All right, I'll stop talking now.
Anyway, obviously we're not going to be calling out anybody by name on here, but we have a duty to point out where misleading information is coming out. And let me just grab this. I'm just bear with me a second. I'll get another. Let's have a look. So, Laurie, John, question for you. Okay, you're going to fly from wherever Laurie, you're going to fly from Florida to Australia. Okay, now I don't know how far that is. Let's say it was 10,000 miles. Yeah. and you just boarded the plane. And John, you're going to be flying. You're going to accompany Laurie. You're both going to Australia because you want to go and research the giants or something. Okay. So you get on the plane and you're settling into your seats, and the intercom comes on, and it's good evening, folks. That's my Australian accent. Welcome to Qantas Flight 424B. It's a sunny day today. The sun is shining brightly, and we're expecting a very pleasant flight. We're not expecting too much turbulence, and relax and stay in your seats. We'll keep you posted. We'll give you an idea of what the route is. And I'd just like to add, though, before we do set off, we've got enough juice, enough fuel on this plane for the first 7,500 miles of the journey. Now, we haven't got enough for the last 2,500, but we've been listening to one of these flat earth shows, and they reckon that if we move the aircraft up a few thousand feet, we'll get some good tailwinds, which will boost our speed to supersonic, and it'll save the fuel, and it will get us there a lot earlier. So, however, if we don't hit these winds, then we'll be ditching in the ocean. So hold on to your seats and pray that we're going to get some tailwinds. So yeah, this is what some channel was coming up with recently, saying that the Sydney Santiago and the southern flights would be possible because the planes would be able to go faster if they could get these tailwinds. But what they forgot to look at was these aircraft don't have a range of that distance. So let me just share a screen with you again and get it back. There we go. And of course, one of the presenters was congratulated on his fabulous research by the other presenter for this magnificent piece of research. So hang on, I've got this little file here, Southern Air Routes. So yeah, I know I'm bringing up this Gleason map again because that's what we need to use to debunk the rubbish that's coming out. So the distance across the pizza pie map, yeah, you've got the North Pole to the South Pole, and in the middle of the South Pole back to South Pole to the North in the middle, and then the North to the South. So that's 12,500 miles near as damn it each way. Comes to 24,901 miles. And when I've got this map twice as big on here, the scale works out at 1 centimetre is 1,037 miles. So the distance between Sydney and Santiago is 14 centimetres, which equates to 14,518 miles. So I did a bit of research on which jets have got the longest range, and the Boeing Dreamliner 777-200LR is the world's longest range airliner with a range of 10,808 miles. And that plane actually costs somewhere in the region of $300 million. It's an expensive piece of merchandise to risk getting from point A to point B when you've only got enough fuel for 3/4 of the journey. But so would you embark on a flight of 14,518 miles when the aircraft has only enough fuel for 10,808 miles of the journey, and take the gamble that you would make it by getting a boost from air currents? So, Laurie, would you get on that plane?
Not on your life.
John, how about you, mate?
But Lawrence, I'm going to mute you for a second because you are feeding back. I am reading the chat. It says, yo, Lawrence, they were talking about special planes made for that altitude, just saying. So do we know that that's the case? And I don't know. But all I know is if somebody told me that they, or flight attendant told me that we only have enough fuel for 7,000 miles and it's a 10,000 or 12,000 mile journey, I'm not going. I'm sorry, it ain't happening. So my question has always been to anyone who talks about supersonic or souped up jets in the Southern Hemi, why would they have them there when they don't have them anywhere else? Why would they be special only to these long haul flights down there when there's long haul flights that last 9 hours and go across the Atlantic and go across the Pacific And so as far as I'm concerned, that's just, Qantas doesn't have those planes that I know of listed in their little plane list. Anyway, we can keep coming up with all kinds of excuses and arguments for why these flights work on the AE map, but they don't. They just don't. How about you, John?
Yeah, the AE map. I can't believe you actually dared say its name. The AE map, the Gleasons. Okay.
Yeah, that was me. I know.
Yeah.
Lawrence, would you stop screen sharing, please? Thanks.
I'll just lay back in the cut for a bit.
So, okay, so let's recap real quick on what we've got so far. Okay, so far we've shown, okay, Lawrence, I'm going to mute you again. So far we've got obvious footage of 24-hour days in Antarctica at a couple of the stations that Lawrence has shown us so far. Second of all, what the hell is he doing now? Second of all, we've got
Is that better?
Yes, that's better. Thank you. We have the infamous diary of Captain Cook, Captain Scott. We got both, Scott and Cook, right? They both got diaries. Both have diaries.
Yeah.
So you can't say that the diaries say this, and we like that, so we're going to use that. But then we don't like this part over here that debunks our 24-hour sun in the southern hemi, especially in Antarctica. It appears to me that the circuit, oh, for God's sake, Lawrence. It appears to me that by the one that had the little dome thing on it, okay, the sun was going around like this. We accept that for some reason in the Arctic because it goes with our pizza pie map, but we don't accept it even though it appears to be the exact same phenomena in the South region. So to recap, you can decide for yourself. Nobody's trying to say that we've proved beyond a doubt that there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, okay? But I'm feeling pretty good about it, and I've been feeling pretty good about it for a very long time, and I don't have any reason to poo-poo it because it's a two-pole realm. So we got the same action going on in this pole and this pole.
I have a question. Okay, it's been referenced, I think, a few places. You can correct me if I'm wrong, that it's been observed, and even in the KC station videos, Davis station, whatever, that the sun is setting, excuse me, in the south. Like looking towards a camera angle, it's going towards the south. Now, and I've heard tell of this in Australia, in the Philippines, or places below the equator. Now, does this occur in the north? Does it always set south? It's, I guess, every direction you'd look at is rather south from the North Pole, which is, I don't want to play word games, but just from normal observations, the fact that when you're below the southern tropics, and even in Antarctica, the sun sets south, and I'm sure it rises south as well if the camera was facing just pointed in a slightly different direction. So I don't know. Is that a conundrum? Is that should we be looking for Mount Meru in Antarctica? Is that where the four islands and the four seas and the big mountain is? I'm just being fun right now. But
well, I get you. But what?
Yeah.
We get little clues all the time. Lawrence just showed us a photograph, an aerial photograph from Casey that shows north at south and south at north. So,
Yeah, right.
I've said on more than one occasion that perhaps we've been told all our lives that that's north and that's south, but wouldn't surprise me in the least if that was north and this is south, okay? Or it wouldn't even surprise me in the least if east and west is north and south. And yeah, okay. And so that part is, we're stuck with the terminology and the vernacular that we've been given and programmed with our whole lives. We're still saying hemispheres, and we're still saying words that do not exist on a flat earth, okay? Bottom and top, the sides.
Well, you mentioned you mentioned the bottom and the top, and if you flip diamond map, upside down 180 degrees, you're going to see that all the continents are generally pointed up towards Antarctica. If you flip it, you take it and just flip it normally, you're going to see all the continents point up towards Antarctica. And so if you want to think of that as the top of the planet, and everything else is dripping down until all the big continents are up towards or down towards the north, or south. I don't know how to reference it anymore.
Well, there you go. So,
It used to be north.
Lawrence, have you got more surprises for us?
Let me just show you this little image.
Okay. Maybe one problem, Lawrence, one problem might be that you need to turn your volume down just a little bit.
All right, I'll do that.
Because I think you turned it up when you were playing with the video that didn't work.
Right. Okay, so if you look, this is an image probably from a postcard or whatever from Norway. The midnight sun over there, and you've got the clock at the bottom showing, where the sun is at different times of the day. So it's starting at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9, 10, 11. So at midnight, the sun is pointing to the north of the North Pole. So you can observe the sun to the north of the North Pole. Now, obviously, that causes problems because we know the sun isn't north of the North Pole. And that's where it's lowest in the sky. And as you see, it starts building up again, and it gets its highest point on the next image somewhere. Is it that one? 6 p.m. midnight, Nordkamp. It's got all the images anyway on here of the sun at different points in the sky. And it's at its highest, obviously, at midday. So 6 p.m. it's going down to midnight, and it's rising again. And I haven't got it here at the moment. There's another set of photographs that takes you through the rest of the day where the sun rises up till midday and then slightly comes down again, forming like a wiggly line.
How are we seeing the midnight sun in the north at all in the north? Because it should never be north of the Tropic of Cancer.
Yeah, same thing. So,
So,
a reflection.
Diffraction, refraction,
prismatics.
I don't know what to call it. I think it could be all of the above. I have to keep coming back to that tesseract cube every time I see this stuff, because.
Yeah.
So anyway, there goes John making racket now.
John's going for a coffee or something. He's going for a walkabout.
What's your shirt you have on, John? Hustle Trees. Awesome. You always got the coolest little shirts. So, okay. Sean is now muted. Everybody's muted. Nobody's muted. Nobody's muted. Oh, this is fabulous, and I don't hear any feedback. John,
well, that's
okay.
Good.
Enough about that. So from now on, I mean, anybody who wants to come forward with debunking this, I'm sure the chat's full of people who've come along because they've flew in on the Antarctica topic, who have all kinds of reasons for why this footage is wrong, or that photograph is faked, or any of them, and all of the above. we're gathering evidence. Okay, and this is what we do in a trial. We gather evidence up until the time when we have to judge the decision as to whether we think that the Antarctica is guilty or not guilty of having a 24-hour sun in November and December, and maybe a little part of January. They have probably a 2-month window there.
Yeah, and did Robert Falcon Scott, was his diary forged to say that he saw this midnight sun reflecting off the snow? And Captain Cook's original journals, which will be, in some library somewhere, all that was sort of faked. I very much doubt it, because they'd have no reason to. It's preposterous, but they are still clinging to this notion that it's all fake.
Of course, they have to cling to it, Lawrence, because that excuse of Captain Cook 60 kajillion miles around the ice wall that he supposedly ventured, even though we can go on the internet and find his journeys that were 3 years long, and he went all up coast, all up into the Arctic and back down and over here, and he didn't just keep sailing around this endless ice ring circle as everyone assumes. So last week or Sunday, we talked a little bit at length about the new Antarctica agreement to the treaty about hands off the Ross Sea, and so all along, from the time I joined Flat Earth, I heard you go down to Antarctica, you're going to get blown right out of the water. The military is protecting it, and anyone who tries to go there, you will be shot and sunk and whatever. I mean, it's just blown into this Bigfoot story, okay? And so, but now they're telling us we're keeping this part of Antarctica free of human dabbling, so that you guys can't come down here and kill the Chilean sea bass. We're protecting. There might even be some kind of little ice guppy there that they'll find next that needs to be protected. But for whatever reason, now it's true. But I still don't think that I read anything in that about being protected with big AK-47s or military gunships or any of that. John, have you read any of that? Muted?
You're muted, John.
Like you should be right now, Lawrence.
You want me to mute? Oh, I'm muted.
John, you're still muted. You're fully muted. And so it's not me, and it's not the mute button. So you've lost your sound for some reason.
Wait for John to get his sound back.
Okay.
So if people in the chat have been arguing the toss about these southern flight routes, an interesting point is that, this has been pointed out many times, but not specifically to the flights, is that 95% or thereabouts of the world's population are in the northern hemisphere, with 5% in the south. So when people are making long distance flights from big cities in the southern hemisphere, there ain't that many people there anyway, and that's why they're flying up to places like Dubai, is to fill up the planes, because it wouldn't be commercially viable to make these flights, because the planes wouldn't be full. You've only got 1/20th of the world's population to fill it. So it's basically commercial. They're going to go wherever they need to go to pick up passengers to get from A to B. So it's actually commercially viable. And if that means taking some big detour, then they're going to do it. So because they're going to have a full plane.
So
it's money that's driving.
Chat wants me to clarify 60 kajillion miles. I was obviously being facetious, because there is no kajillion that I know of. But I believe it was something like 78,000 miles is supposed to be the ice ring, Lawrence?
Well, that's according to the dimensions of the map. Yeah, you know, if it's 25,000 miles across, then it's going to be 78,000 for the circumference.
Diaries support that giant ice ring, and I say it doesn't. So it's okay.
Well,
if you really want clarification, then my suggestion would be to Google the 3 expeditions taken by Captain Cook. One was, I believe the last one was 3 years. They may have been 3 years apiece, or 3 to 5 years, something like that. And they will show you the route according to the diary of his journey. And it wasn't just around the southern seas for 3 years. It wasn't. Go look. He came down from Europe along the coast. He went around, you know, South Africa and the Cape, and then he kind of came back up maybe to the Philippines, and he went around a lot of different places, just swinging around that Antarctica coastline, because the actual Antarctica coastline, according to the globe, is what? Let's look that up.
12,000 miles, isn't it, round it officially?
Something like that. Okay, so I don't have to look. And so anybody wants to look, please look. And so we know that it's not 12,000 miles because we know that it's not a complete circle on the bottom of Earth, on the bottom of the globe. We already know that. So we don't actually know how they're measuring, coming up with this magic number of 12,000 miles, but it's based on the picture they show us from space.
Yeah, it's so obvious. Am I muted again? Yeah, it's so obvious that that isn't the case because Google just blot out all the maps around there. They'll only let you look at certain photographs, but you can't go down with Google Maps and explore Antarctica. You can't go and take a look at it. So
No,
they obviously,
go on ground level.
It's made up. Some of it's just made up.
You
It's
can't be the little man and walk around on the ground in Antarctica and visit the stations.
Yeah, probably some of it don't exist. It's just patchy.
Okay,
They'll just show up as new.
No, you're probably going to have to drop out and come back in because I think something happened with the sound. Sorry. So without, belaboring the point, because we've been known to do that about maps and models, this is just one more of the reasons why we don't comply with the theory of the giant mythological circle pizza pan ice wall around the whole of the flat Earth map. Because how can the sun be 24 hours lighting that giant circle if it's going around in a circle, right? I mean, we've seen enough of those little model animations of the sun and the moon doing the thing, doing the dance, going around and around, and the sun's only illuminating this side over here while the moon's over here, even though there's many times when the moon's real close, but nobody ever shows that. But that's okay, because then now you're just like picking lint, right? So, but if the sun's on one side, and let's take her all the way down to the Tropic of Capricorn, if it's over here, how in the heck are they getting 24 hours of sun over there? Can't happen. So.
Okay, can everybody, can you hear me now, by the way?
Chime in.
Yeah, no. Well, it's interesting to see the photographs, if anyone's seen them, from the latest WikiLeaks about a week ago or a week and a half ago. Yeah, fascinating, especially with that old ship going through that chasm. Actually, I think, Lawrence, you showed that also a while back. Yeah, anyone know from Captain Cook's diaries? He obviously went all the way around and had problems. He thought he was, you know, going someplace and he didn't. He didn't know where he was going. He made a few like U-turns or something. Was he confused about the sun as well? I mean, was he going, wait a second, you know, why is it, oh, wait a, I mean, I don't know if there's anything in the diaries. Does he say anything about that? That would be for historians to like look into if that's even there. And what was it? I lost the other thing, but yeah, that's Captain Cook.
Yeah, he did.
Well, it figures, doesn't it?
He kind of got lost. Okay, he kind of thought he was here, but he ended up over there, kind of a couple of times. And I don't know portals, but you know, could be that you start out here and suddenly you're over here. I mean, they do have a regatta that's supposed to go all the way around Antarctica, don't they? Even though they admit that it doesn't actually go all the way around. Okay, so we got lies, disinfo, stories, myths, propaganda, all mixed in together into this horrible Antarctica soup. Okay, and then it freezes up, and then every once in a while it melts down, and then it freezes up again, and every time it's a new permutation of the story of what it is about Antarctica. So I want to keep on keeping on with regards to pursuing this. I am not 100% certain about anything, but I am certain that there's some pretty serious anomalies in place that should not be happening. If a camera is facing south at the south edge of the flat map, then why in the world are we seeing the sun south of that? Okay, and then we got the black dot, the mysterious black dot. But I am going to get some of those cool Google glasses. Glasses I was showing you, Lawrence. I'm going to get some of those goggles that somebody sent me a picture of and said I need to get some of those so I don't have to do that thing you were talking about to look at the sun. Lawrence, make a little pee-pee hole right here where you can peek out and not burn your eyeballs off. So
no, you won't burn your eyeballs. But
there's goggles that
they're
kind of steampunk, I guess you would call them. I love steampunk art and all that. So I'm going to get me some steampunk goggles so that I can stare at the sun.
What are they, like Fresnel lenses? Are they like Fresnel?
Yeah, I guess. Somebody sent me a picture of them in my Facebook inbox because they were tee-hee-heeing about Lawrence with his looking at the sun like that.
Yeah, if anybody wants to know about,
they don't work unless you wear your tinfoil hat, maybe.
Yeah, well, okay, I can wear my tinfoil hat. I got no problem with that. None.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually have a couple different tinfoil hats, especially the one with the beanie propeller on the top. That's a tinfoil hat to be proud of.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to Captain Cook. If you go on YouTube, it's about 3.5 hours long. It's a movie cum documentary about the life of Captain Cook, and he did make 2 attempts to go down to find the hidden southern continent. He wasn't that keen, actually. You know, he only went for the glory. And on one of the voyages, the main purpose was to map the excuse me.
Bless you.
To map the passage of Venus across the sun, and they took some very special equipment down, and the local natives ran off with it, and they had to hold one of the local tribe queens as a hostage on the ship till they returned the piece of equipment they got to map the passage of Venus across the sun. There's some right comings ago, but it's actually a good movie to watch, and it's on YouTube, and you know, it gives you a sort of good background as to what life was like then on the ships, and you know, the brutality of it all, and you know, whipping people on the ships, and desertion, and all these people that died falling off the ship. And
how about the giants? They found giants.
I don't think. They may have done. Yeah, I didn't see any
Well, they
giants in
did.
it, but
They found giants, giant people.
yeah,
It's in there.
yeah.
I'm gonna show you something real fast because I want you to screen share. I want you to see what I'm talking about. Hold on. I need to pull this picture out of there. It's on a separate thing. Why isn't it showing? There we go. How about this? There you go, Lauren. These are what I'm
Cool.
talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think you look really gorgeous wearing those, Laurie. I think you should wear them for the entire show.
I think it's a total fashion statement, don't you? I mean, can't you see me?
I think those are what people wear for those, S&M, whatever it is, when people get dressed up in goggles and butt leather suits and stuff.
It's steampunk,
Pardon?
Lawrence. Get me some.
That's what they say.
I'm jealous. You're gonna want
That's
some
what they
too.
say.
As soon as you see me in mine, you're gonna want some, so you don't look like all goober doing that,
It's not for everyone.
Doing
I mean,
that-
if you're
doing
into
that
it,
thing.
if you're into it.
So anyway,
Yeah.
okay. So enough slapstick. So we're gonna wrap it up because we've done Antarctica. And people get mad because they think you're saying Antarctica and leaving out the K in there. And so anybody who has some good film footage of 24-hour sun, I mean, lots of people vacation down in Antarctica during the year. There's thousands of people that go there, and I'm sure somebody took some great film, or somebody wants to pour over them the YouTube videos and find some good 24-hour time lapse, something, midnight sun in Antarctica, and share it with us, and we'll play it next time when we're on. But I do want to, John, have you got anything new that you're working on with regards to the map and model extravaganza you've been doing?
Yeah, that little quick sample video that I sent you basically drew out the sun rays from for the audience to know, because haven't seen it yet. If you consider the time date map and the sun anywhere on the time and date map, currently November, and you see it's a normal graphic sun with 8 points on it. Well, what I did was I just basically extended the sun rays to the limits of the lighted portion of the map, and basically sliced it all up again for the diamond form and portrayed it going across. Wow! All I can say is if you want to put up a still, if you want to just tease everybody, but it's interesting. I mean, it looks like a spider. It's fascinating.
Is this the last video, the last email that you sent me?
Yeah, it's like an 8. Yeah, it's an 8, and I sent a an image with the email as well, a still image.
Okay, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one before that. Let me see if I can find it. That's not the one.
Just to whet everybody's appetite.
There's one that has. Okay, so it's the one you got 2 attachments. You want?
Yeah, there's yeah. If you just want to put that up, so just people can flash it, people can see.
Let me. I'm downloading it real quick. I didn't download it. Okay, there it is. So let me go to my downloads and open that puppy up. Okay.
Fascinating conversation
we'll do a little
piece.
Screen share and see if we can. Yes. How's this? Share. Is that the one? Is that the one, John?
That's it. That is it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
Yeah, and okay, so explain again the rays, how you arrived at that, or they just came on there?
No, what I did was I basically just took the time and date normal map and graphically extended the rays of the sun pointing out from it. It's, you know, 8-pointed. Yeah. And then, you know, took every hour, you know, and stitched it up together and clipped it. Transformed it to the diamond form, and that's how the rays turned out.
That's wild.
It
That's
is
kind of trippy. I've seen a couple maps that one of them, I guess, was the one that it was originally circulating by Ned. That was the kind of square map with the U-shaped. Not really sure how that fit, but whatever, he had the sun coming in and going out in a U shape, which was some kind of a portal idea. But there's readings that people are taking from the other group that I've mentioned before in other talks we've had, flat Earth pictures taken by real people or something like that, and they take leave and greet readings of sun and moon, and they're coming in and going out in all kinds of weird directions that make no sense. It's starting to make these guys think that we're living in a bathtub concave thing, which freaks me out, because I know it's not, but it could probably be the reverse, could make it look like that. So this is reflection issue that we're constantly having to deal with here, with the, you know, what's going on with the sky or the ceiling or whatever we want to call the firmament. Some people like to call it the dome, and I let them, even though I got that meme that says "say the dome" one more time. So anyway, it's very interesting that we have north and south rays from the sun. And, you know, I know that some people are going to go, oh my God, you guys are so overthinking this because it's just a little sun ray icon. Well, no, actually, those rays actually do travel. So what do you think's lighting the surface, right?
There's a limit to there's a limit to the lighted part of the earth, you know. So basically, I was just highlighting that area of space with, you know, according to the sun rays. I mean, it's 8 points in each direction, so I mean, it's not tricky math, and it's sort of cantered, you know, below the equator, so that might, you know, make for the argument that it is tilting through some sort of, you know, planar area, and then it's sort of, you know, shifts, but it's still coming over into the north. The fact that the rays sort of, you know, come to you know, undulating, you know, point in either direction, north or south, that might explain how the rays, how the shadows shift, you know, throughout the quickness of the day. So well, I mean, also, there's much.
Yeah, it also tells us that every different viewer from every different observation point in the lit department is seeing the sun at a different angle. And they are. I mean, for crying out loud, some people see the sun huge, some people see the sun small, some people see the sun greet and leave, and it gets smaller as it goes away. Other people say, no, it never gets smaller, it's the same size when it goes away. So depending on your viewer location, you would probably be seeing some different sunbeams, some different sun angles.
And I don't know if this is opening a can of worms, but
well, it could be. And you know what? But I'm not afraid of worms. Are you? I mean, let's go fishing. Take those worms and get them out of the can, and let's go fishing. Okay. Nice. My granddaddy taught me how to bait my hook when I was just a wee thing, knee high to a grasshopper. So.
Hey, listen. You know, in my defense for my graphics here, I'm just using the time and date data, and I'm just enhancing it, and I'm just making it naturally, you know, transform to the diamond shape. So I'm, you know, this is just sort of intuitive thinking about, you know, what might we be able to glean from this image? What might this help us explain? So
and for those who get all wigged out about John using timeanddate.com's data, I absolutely compel you to go there yourself to timeanddate.com right now or anytime you feel like it, and look at the imagery that's being shown to you about what is in daylight and what is in darkness and what is in twilight, and see if it fits where you live, and call somebody on the phone. If you live in a lighted part and you know somebody lives in a dark part, call them on the phone, get them on Facebook chat, whatever, and say, what do you be seeing? Do you see the moon from the southwest of you right now? You know, like that. So the data is accurate. It's been tested and checked too many times by too many different people that they can't be lying to you at this point. So, all right, I'm going to unmute Lawrence for a final exciting wrap up to this episode, and we're going to cut and run. What do you got?
Yeah. Well, no, I think we're onto something with the sun, and you know, if we can get this model together, then we can get that to vindicate what we're saying is happening with this reverse side of the sun. And you know, this is when you look at what's coming out elsewhere in flat Earth. You know, I just wrote down some adjectives of how you would describe these groups, and I came up with cult, clique, groupies, cozy chats, you know, scratch each other's backs groups, talk about the same old shit every week, which has been thoroughly debunked groups. I mean, that's what you're up against. And I tuned into one of these, you know, all-day chat things today, and it was a bunch of hillbillies, and it was just unbelievably. If you've ever listened to these people, my God, you know, and I think they've been drinking as well. So you've got these women who probably don't sound very bright at the best of times. When they're pissed, you know, they sort of descend to the level not much above a vegetable, and I had to turn it off in the end. It was very irritating. There was no flat Earth there. It was just, but they were going for 7 hours, and they got about 50 people watching it, and I think, fucking hell, you know, I mean, this is probably some kind of reality show entertainment for them, because
well, I mean, Lawrence,
who would want to listen to it?
Listen, we can all agree that it appears most of the people who are stuck on what they learned when they first started investigating flat Earth or any other truth thing, okay, any other truth department, whoever they latched onto when they first entered the room, that's who woke them up in their mindset, okay, and that's their guru. So if you woke up and the first person you heard talking about conspiracies was Alex Jones, then you become an Alex Jones fan, and you attribute your wake-up call to Alex Jones. So if you're a flat earther and the first person you heard was Eric Dubay or Matthew Boylan or Jaron or any of the other larger YouTube channels, that's going to be your guru. That's going to be your go-to person. If you're not interested in doing your own investigation, and I'm not even going to call it research, because that word is so overused and so misused, okay? Watching YouTube videos by a bunch of different people is not research. That's just listening to YouTube videos by a bunch of different people, okay? Research is checking what they say, verifying what they say, and seeing if it's correct. And doing your own observations and your own investigations to find out if what they're telling you is true. So if you're not going to do that, then it doesn't matter who woke you up or who is your guru. That's your go-to person. And the longer time goes on, the more you personally associate with these different personalities, correct? Okay. So
Yeah, but it's
you
very
can call them
downheartening. You know,
stupid and hicks and hillbillies and whatever. That's your prerogative. But it is what it is. So we're not interested in trying to wake those people up past their point of that they have been awake, because they're happy where they are. They're like wrestling with the pig in the mud. You know, pretty soon you figure out that the pig really likes it. So you just let them, you know, leave it alone, right?
yeah,
So,
I know, but let's be realistic as to what this flat Earth, so-called flat Earth community is, though, because it's not a vibrant, healthy community of people waking up. A lot of it's a lot of sad, lonely people who had no friends prior to flat Earth. They found some people they've got something in common on, and they'll meet up on some of these big channels. They're not going there to actually watch the program. They're actually going to talking chat like they'll be chatting in Facebook.
perhaps,
And,
okay,
and then you get all these.
I'll grant you some of that, but you know what? That's not my business. Here's where I'm a little bit confused as of late. Okay, for the last year, I've been hearing all of these people talking about Americans specifically, and a lot of Brits, Western government type people, Western culture people, have been talking about what we need to do with the flat Earth is overthrow the government and, you know, take our world back and down with the New World Order and the NASA and everything else. Okay. And then when given an opportunity to actually move their man forward on the chess game, they fall prey to more voting and more electioneering and more campaign speeches, and they completely lost track of what it was supposed to all be about. Oh, now we have a savior. The savior's going to save us, and we don't really need to worry about. We'll make them a flat earther sooner or later, and then it'll all be that'll fix it all. So, you know, I'm probably going to catch a lot of crap for even saying that, and you're going to catch a lot of crap for calling people, you know, cult members. I don't really care, you know, at this point. We already have enough people who don't like or appreciate our sense of adventure when it comes to the flat Earth research, because we're actually doing research. You know, we play a video now and then from somebody, but it's just to drive a point home. But, you know, rarely do we use other people's research. We're basically using our own. So, you have anything to add to that, John, or did you just run up the stairs?
He's gone, I think.
Yeah.
But he's still got his computer switched on. Yeah. So it looks like it's just this channel, Laurie, where, you know, as I see it, there's very few other people out there doing anything other than repeating the same mantra, you know, from Robotham and Co.
You know what? Let's go here though, Lawrence. Okay, just in case we are the only ones that are wrong, and everyone else is right. Okay. We have our own duty to our own selves to pursue our own investigation, and that's what we're going to do. And we don't need anyone's permission to do that, and we won't be driven out the back door just because we don't fall into step with everybody else. So no, season 3 is not going to be negativity about what anybody else is doing, or I'm not going to play. And but at the same time, you can hold us, our feet to the fire. You can call us names, and you can make fun of us all you want, and you know, mimic us and whatever else. that's not going to change the fact that what we're finding out and what we're questioning is showing that so much of the information that we were all given when we were introduced to flat Earth is incorrect and is considered by us to be what is called flat Earth dogma and flat Earth mythology, including the pizza pie and the circling business. All the circling business. So, okay.
Well, I got a
Enough of
message
that.
for all
John,
those
you have a
flat
closing
Earth.
statement?
Yeah, go on, John.
Yeah, for all the flat Earth snowflakes, I got a message. CFO. Oh, by the way, that's Chinese for chill fuck out.
CFO. That's too funny.
Other than that, it's always a pleasure.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us again, and thank
we
you,
don't
Mark.
care what you think.
And we'll see you when we see you. How about that?
Sometime.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe whenever.
Good night, everybody. Good night, John Boy.